Hi, and welcome to ISIS's workshop for the month of September. We are going to be going over youth and fentanyl and what every family needs to know. Fentanyl is really prevalent in our community and really all around the world. And the more knowledge that we have, the better we can take care of our family and our children and even ourselves. So we're going to start by talking about what is fentanyl. Fentanyl comes in two types of forms. One of it's illegal and one of it is legal. They do use it as a pharmaceutical drug for pain medication, maybe if you're in a surgery, even sometimes for giving birth. But if it's used illegally, that's a whole nother type of drug. It is a synthetic opioid. So in most recent cases of fentanyl-related overdose, they're linked to illegally made fentanyl, which means it's not pharmaceutical. You can't get this type in hospitals. Usually it'll come from a third party because it is a cheaper way of getting that high that they're looking for. So illegal fentanyl is usually distributed through illegal drug markets for its heroin-like effects. It's often added to other drugs because of its extreme potency. It's very, very strong. And it also makes drugs cheaper because they're putting low doses of fentanyl, which means that when they purchase something, they get high a lot easier because of the potency of fentanyl. They don't have to buy as much. Because it's cheaper, it doesn't make it better. It's more powerful, more addictive, and more dangerous if it's done illegally. Fentanyl goes by many different names. Some of the street names I have listed on the slide. Apache, China Girl, Chinatown, Jackpot, Poison and Tango and Cash. So it's not easily findable. I say that because these names are all over. Some people have different names for it and we might not be able to catch it. So here are some things that we could write down just so we know, hey, if I hear this word, this might be what it means. So how is fentanyl consumed? Fentanyl is consumed in multiple different ways. It can be consumed by snorting, injecting, taken in pill form. The most dangerous part of this drug is that it can be put in anything, and we might not even know that it's there. Maybe you're taking a medication from a friend, and they don't realize that it's laced. Laced is a big word, which means that it could be put in other things. So you could have marijuana and it be laced, coke and it be laced. Laced means, again, that it could be cross-contaminated. And having it cross-contaminated with fentanyl could be deadly. We're going to go over that in a little bit and go over those slides. But for now, just know it can be ingested in multiple different ways, even smoked. So what does it do to the body? Fentanyl is very, very dangerous for the body. But some things that it does is it's just like an opioid, such as heroin. Fentanyl produces effects such as relaxation, euphoria, pain relief, could be sedation, confusion, dizziness, nausea, and vomiting. And this is if we're not taking an overdosable amount. This is just if you have a little bit. And don't get me wrong, any amount of fentanyl could be deadly. But if you're not at a deadly dose, these are some side effects that could happen. Some fentanyl facts that are kind of scary are that drug trafficking organizations typically distribute fentanyl by the kilogram, and just 1 kilogram has the potential to kill 500,000 people because fentanyl is 100 times more potent than morphine. It's 50 times stronger than heroin. So a tiny, tiny dose, and I mean like the tip of a fingernail, is enough to kill because of its high potency. It has been identified in counterfeit pills, mimicking pharmaceutical drugs such as oxycodone. Another scary fact is that most teen overdose deaths recorded by the CDC were caused by fentanyl. That's huge. That some of our youth is dying. Lots of our youth are dying actually with fentanyl overdoses, not even realizing that they took fentanyl or even what fentanyl is or what to look out for. Nearly 5 out of every 100,000 adolescents ages 14 to 18 are more than 950 teens died of an overdose in 2020 alone. These facts are scary, which made me really want to talk about fentanyl with our youth. And in the next few slides, I'm going to talk to you about how to talk to your child, how to prepare them, and what we can do. 61% of drug use went up among 8th graders. 8th graders, it starts so young, between 2016 and 2020. So let's talk about how we talk to our children and when. So when to talk to them about drugs, not just fentanyl, drugs. Most experts agree it's never too early to start talking to kids about substance use. The beginning of elementary school can often be a great time to start opening up that conversation. Doesn't need to be a sit-down lecture. Honestly, the best time to talk to your children is usually in the car. Hard conversations are even harder when you're face to face and it's intense. So if you can just casually bring it up while you're in the car, allows them to kind of make it feel like an open space where they can talk to you without looking at you, and it's just more of a safe place. Another tip is to definitely bring it up as they're younger and just not constantly, but whenever you get a chance to bring it up in conversation, such as if friends, if they tell you a friend has done something, or if you see it in movies, you see them starting to ask questions. Give them the information that they need, bring it up in topic, allow them to have these conversations, allow them to feel comfortable talking to you about it. Because if we don't talk about it, there's no knowledge and they're not going to know what to do when this comes up. So the more we talk, the more comfortable they're going to get talking to us, the more they know that we're going to be there for them without judgment. The safer they're going to feel to come to us. They need guidance. Adolescents need guidance. They might not believe that they do. They might not even admit that they do. But they're going to want to come to us. And then it's our job to be safe for them, a safe place where they can come and ask questions and find the knowledge that they need. Because a lot of the times our friends or their friends don't know the right answers. And so if we're constantly having them talk to each other, they're not getting the right information that they need. Every teen should know that every pill could be fentanyl in 2022, regardless of what the person giving them says it is, regardless of who is giving it to them, says Atkinson. So this once again provides information that it could be literally laced in everything. So we have to make sure we have this conversation. So we'll talk a little bit about something called rainbow fentanyl after this next slide, and that'll give you a little bit more information on how kind of scary it is. So we kind of went over this in the last slide, how to start the talk. For younger kids, look for opportunities to bring it up casually. We talked about watching TV. And this isn't just fentanyl. Again, this is about all drugs. Could be drinking, smoking pot, smoking, anything that you want to show them what your values and beliefs are so that they know where you stand in terms of what's allowed and what's not allowed. If you start that young, they're going to understand the expectations as they get older and hopefully adapt your values towards drug use as well. For teens, you can also ask what they know about other consequences of substance use, like what might happen if they get in the front with a car who's been drinking or using drugs. Talk about jail time. Talk about real consequences so they understand the weight that this can really hold. Teens need someone to talk to, whether they're going to admit it or not. So the more information we can give them, especially because they do talk to us less, the more information we can give them throughout their lives, the better it's going to be when they're hit with this situation. So I wanted to bring up rainbow fentanyl. If you know about this, awesome. I've seen it in the news. I've seen it on Facebook. I've seen it on Instagram. That fentanyl is being distributed in fun colors. It looks like candy, and this is more appealing to teenagers. The reason why this drug is coming out to target youth is because once you start, it's very addictive. And so giving it in colors and showing them that it's exciting, having them want to try, it starts people on their addiction. The earlier they start it, the more addictive it's going to be. So it's called rainbow fentanyl. It's been identified as a new trend in the United States by the DEA. It comes in many forms, including pills, powder, and blocks that can resemble sidewalk chalk or candy. Rainbow fentanyl, like all other forms of fentanyl, is extremely potent and dangerous. So we need to remind children not to take medication from anybody. I've seen lots of really sad videos of teenagers that have been studying for a test. They're not even drug users. They're not even interested in taking drugs. But on multiple videos I have seen in news stories, I have seen teenagers that are really trying to study for their exams, having a hard time staying up, so they call somebody for Adderall, or they're calling for even something Xanax to relax them, even though they're not drugs. It is illegal to take medication that's not yours from somebody else. But even a teenager that has tried, let's say, Adderall to stay up for their test, if they don't know where that Adderall came from, even if it is from a friend, that Adderall could be laced with fentanyl, and they could die. And I have seen multiple deaths happen like this via the news, where they think they're getting a simple pill from a friend and it's laced in fentanyl, and while they're studying for a test, their parents find them in the morning. And so we just have to really, really explain to our children that unless it comes from a doctor, we do not know what's inside it. And it could be absolutely detrimental if we aren't careful. So I want to go over what to watch for if you feel like your children have started having some sort of symptoms and you're wondering if it could be fentanyl, or you're wondering if it could be any sort of drugs. Fentanyl symptoms are usually coughs, which could be in anything, but if it all kind of mixes in together. Nervousness, back pain, side pain, pale skin, mood changes, pounding in ears, loss of appetite, fever, chills, dry mouth. If you start noticing that their eyes are sunken in, or their feet and hands are starting to swell, these are just symptoms to look out for. Doesn't mean if they have a runny nose and a cough that they're using. Just if you have a thought that they might be using and you're seeing these symptoms, definitely reach out for help, whether you take them to the hospital or you call somewhere like behavioral health that can help you get in contact with a therapist, or rehab, or whatever you may need. You can also give ISIS a call and we can help you reach out to the resources that are needed. So what are the effects of an overdose? Overdose can cause changes in pupil size, clammy skin, even put them in a coma, and respiratory failure leading to death. The presence of a triad of symptoms such as coma, pinpoint pupils, and respiratory depression strongly suggests an opioid intoxication. So if you're seeing this, please, please, please get help immediately. Fentanyl can take somebody's lives within an instant. So the quicker we can get them help, the best. So what to do if you think this is happening? It can be hard to tell whether a person is high or experiencing an overdose. So if you aren't sure, treat it like an overdose no matter what. If you feel like this person is just high and having, some sort of symptoms, but it's not enough to call an overdose, still treat it. Call 911, administer naloxone. Naloxone I will talk about on the next slide because I think it's very important for everyone to understand what naloxone is. Try to keep the person awake and breathing. Lay the person on their side to prevent choking because they will start throwing up. Put them on their side so they don't choke on it. Stay with the person until 911 arrives. So naloxone looks like what's up here in the upper left. Naloxone is an opioid antagonist that can be used to quickly reverse an opioid overdose. An opioid antagonist is a type of medication that attaches to opioid receptors to reverse and block the ongoing effects of an opioid agonist drug like fentanyl or heroin. Naloxone may be given in 2 FDA-approved forms. They have injectable solutions that can be directly injected into the muscle, vein, or under the skin, or a 1-dose nasal spray. Because of fentanyl's potency, naloxone may need to be administered more than once to reverse a fentanyl-involved opioid overdose. You can get these naloxones at a lot of doctor's offices. Definitely call us if you need help with resources. It's best to have these on hand whether you feel your child's using or not, because these can instantly save a life. You shoot it up the person's nose and it immediately goes to the brain and blocks off receptors that are getting that opioid connection. So the more we have, the better on hand. Again, these are just 1 doses, so sometimes you have to have multiple depending on how much opioids have been used. So we're going to talk about what to do, what not to do. So once you do that initial shot of naloxone, stay with the person to monitor their breathing, keep them on their side. If emergency personnel are not on site, stay with the person until 911 arrives. Do not put this person in a shower or a cold bath. Do not slap the person and try to wake them up, as this may cause injury. Do not inject the person with any substance other than naloxone. Do not attempt to make the person vomit, as it may increase their risk of choking. One thing about naloxone too is that it is safe if they're not having an overdose and you inject it. They will be totally fine. It's safe for pregnant people. It's safe for children. It's safe whether they're in actual overdose or not. So it's better to just inject to be safe rather than sorry later. It will definitely save a life. So one last thing I want to talk about is just keep talking, keep building that connection with your children. They're going to need us for everything, and this is a big one. It's a big thing going on in our society, even America right now. Fentanyl has been very detrimental to our children, to our people. So the more we talk about drugs in general, the safer our children are going to be. If you need help finding resources, please give ISIS a call, and we can help you to the best of our knowledge. Thank you.